Hey guys, it's Simeon. This is Pro Wrestling Unlimited as we are here on the 8th of January 2019 to talk about everything that went down tonight on AEW Dynamite. I thought it was an okay show. The first hour almost made me turn away, kinda. I just never got into it. I almost went, screw it, I'm going to NXT, but I didn't because I'm reviewing it for you guys tonight here. But it was that much of a downer. But then the second hour was better, got me more into it. And I do want to say, Henry, you're right to have your own opinion in the chat, and I agree with your opinion about the interference, especially in the women's match. I think that match could have been a good, if not almost great match between Riho and Chris Statlander, but because of all the interference from Brandy and her people, it made the match a shit show. It made the match completely 100% god-awful. And I just want to say, for people to knock Henry for having his own opinion about something in the chat, I don't want to see that anymore. If I see that, I will start timing people out. If you continue to do that, I will ban people, because we don't need the negativity. Again, Henry, he's entitled to have his opinion on what he watched tonight, whether he liked something or didn't like something. You don't have to agree with him, but you don't have to tell him that he can't say that. You don't have to tell him what he can and can't do in the live chat. Just saying. And to be honest, like I said, I agreed with him. The interference in all these women's matches with the Nightmare Collective and Brandy, well, mainly it's the Chris Statlander matches, but I digress, is not good. And I thought it took a match that could have been really good and turned it into just dog shit. And I'll get into that when we talk about it, because they need to stop. But let's see who's here with us in the live chat. We do have Kristen McNutt, Dontrell Bailey, Henry McKenna Cavallo, Nelson, Jason Dalton, Ruby Windenech. I probably butchered that last name. Windenech. We've also got Woken King Slender, Freddy's Nightmare, and more of you. So tonight was the anniversary edition of AEW Dynamite. It was the anniversary edition because exactly 1 year ago today, they basically told us what All Elite Wrestling is going to be for the most part. They announced Double or Nothing, and they said that more would come. And, well, we're a year in. I think overall, they've done a good job. For a brand new company with a lot of people in positions they've never been in before, you gotta tip your hat to them a little bit and say, hey, you had some growing pains, you had some hiccups, but you've learned from a lot of those growing pains and a lot of those hiccups. So if I were to rate them and say A, B, C, D, F for their first year, I would go a solid B, almost B+, but I'd go solid B for their first year on the job, doing what they do, and they're only going to get better. I mean, they're only going to get better from here, so it's not like, I mean, yeah, they can get worse. We saw it with Impact. Impact was good, and then got worse, and then got good, and then got worse, and then got good again. But I think these guys, outside of Impact, because Impact just their management, they had too many different management regimes going in and out. These people know who's in charge, know who's doing what, and they're going to learn and grow. So I would give them, for their first year around as a company, a B. As far as tonight's show, I'd give it a 6.5. 6.5. So the show opened with a recap of the Elite's big win in last week's main event and Hangman's decision to not celebrate with them. Dave Brown joined Jim Ross, Excalibur, and Tony Schiavone on commentary for the opening match. Really cool. Brown didn't really say much, though. I do have to say that they were supposed to do the whole tribute to Memphis wrestling and a bunch of Memphis legends, and they did do it, but it's actually going to air next week on AEW Dark. So I know the way they announced everything was like it was going to be on Dynamite, and they basically said that. But I guess I guess they changed their minds on that, and they moved everything for that ceremony over to AEW Dark. So the first match of the night was Hangman Page and Kenny Omega taking on Private Party, and saw really no dissension between Omega and Page. They worked perfectly fine together. Quinn and Page started off the match with a takedown, double down leapfrog sequence. Quinn took over with a drop salt. Cassidy hit a double stomp off the top rope. Page came back with a suplex, then tagged Omega. Omega and Page hit tandem chops and a high-fived, showing that, yeah, they're on the same page. Cassidy hit Omega with a flatliner. Quinn and Page then tagged back in. Quinn hit 4 consecutive dives to the outside in an impressive-looking sequence. He then hit a 450 on Page for a near fall. Cassidy went for a springboard attack, but got caught. He got caught with the boot, and then Quinn jumped in, and Page hit him with a fallaway slam. Page tagged Omega. Omega hit a V-trigger on Cassidy. Quinn entered and ate a snapdragon. The distraction allowed Cassidy to hit Omega with the silly string for a 2 count. Quinn missed a shooting star press attempt on Omega at one point. Page went for a buckshot lariat, and Quinn ducked and almost got Omega with that lariat. Page stopped himself, though. They did a couple of spots where Page and Omega crashed into each other by mistake a few times. Only real hiccups. I wouldn't call it dissension or not wanting to work together or being happy they were working together. Private Party then hit the gin and juice on Omega. Page broke up the pin. Quinn used Omega as a base for a flip kick on Page. Cassidy then teased... Omega then hit a one-winged angel on Quinn to pick up the victory. And Page and Omega fist bumped after the match. So I don't know what's going on with this whole Adam Page not wanting to be in the Elite, and then they just work perfectly fine together the next week. And then it's weird because we've seen him and Omega do well as a tag team. But then, like last week, he was on commentary for that main event, and JR goes, "Wait, you're teaming with Omega, but didn't you say you wanted to leave the Elite?" And Hangman was just like, "Yeah, they're making me team with them." And then tonight, it was just like, happy-go-lucky, la-di-da, let's do what we do. We're buds. So, I don't know what's going on. This is one of those storylines where it's like, I think they have a plan. I think it may end up at Revolution with Page and Omega. But I'm just not 100% sure on the delivery right now. Match was great, though. I think this is one of the better matches we've seen so far from Private Party. So after the match, they decided to do an angle from a couple weeks ago where Pac looked like he was going to attack Michael Nakazawa, but this time he actually did and had Michael Nakazawa in the rings of Saturn. A bunch of officials were trying to pull Pac off of him, and none of them could. Page then said, "Go help him. What are you doing? Go help him." And, well, Omega ran to the back. And that was the last we really saw of him, I think. So on the TNT app, this is a plus. I saw the commercials now. Before, on the TNT app, I wasn't seeing the commercials. So now I got the picture-in-picture. And I saw a fan in the front row holding 2 beers. Paige went up to him. And he gave Paige a beer. And Paige drank the beer with the fan. Just furthering his little storyline thing. So after the break, the announcers discussed the rest of the card for tonight. Brandy Rhodes then joined them on commentary. Excalibur asked what her interest was in the upcoming title match. Brandy says she wasn't interested and was only there because she was invited. Which is weird. I don't know who the hell would have invited her. I doubt it's Chris Statlander, who's basically been ignoring her, advances to join the Nightmare Collective. And I honestly don't think it was goddamn Riho saying, "Brandy, come watch my match." I doubt that. So also, Hikaru Shida and Britt Baker were seated at ringside. Brandy also said the Statlander isn't an alien. She's a woman with face paint, and we're all stupid for playing into this. What? Brandy, you're the one that's called her an alien for like 3 weeks. You said, Chris Statlander, the alien. Pick a fucking nationality or whatever you want to call it. Written, not nationality. Pick a species. Is she an alien or is she a human? 1 week she's an alien, 1 week she's a human. Figure it out. She says she doubts Britt Baker as a doctor because she seems dense, then buried Excalibur for wearing a mask. I don't like Brandy as a babyface or as a heel. It just comes off like she's trying too hard to be hated. So this next match was the AEW Women's World Championship match. Riho defending against Chris Statlander. Statlander missed a leg drop early and Riho hit a stomp. Statlander blocked a 619. She hit a tilt-a-whirl backbreaker, then used a modified abdominal stretch into a lariat press for a 2. Statlander used a chinlock during the commercial break. Riho came back with double knees in the corner. Statlander answered with an electric chair drop and a leg drop for a 2. After the commercial break, Statlander missed a moonsault. Riho hit a Northern Light suplex for a near fall, which is very impressive considering their size difference. Riho is super short. Statlander's for a woman's wrestler, she's on the taller side. So I thought that was a little impressive, the shorter Riho hitting the Northern Light suplex on the taller Statlander. Statlander then hit a delayed vertical suplex off the second rope into a double down. Kong and Melanie Cruz came out to ringside during this spot. Riho and Statlander traded strikes. Statlander hit Cruz with a tope suicida. She went to hit one on Kong, but got caught. And then Japanese deathmatch legend Luther crawled out from under the ring and got hit with a crossbody off the post by Riho. Back in the ring, Riho missed a double stomp. Statlander teased a press slam. Riho hit a crucifix bomb for a near fall. Statlander hit a discus elbow and a Falcon Arrow, only got a 2 off of it. Kong then jumped into the match. Oh, wait, I skipped a spot. The finish of the match saw Statlander go for her pile driver near the ropes. Kong tripped Statlander from the floor. Riho then used a cradle and picked up the victory. After the match, Kong jumped in and attacked Statlander. Riho tried to make the save but got laid out. Sheeta then jumped the rails and made the save. Britt Baker refused to get involved, and then Big Swole and Sonny Kiss also ran down to run off the Nightmare Collective. So I guess Britt Baker's turning heel as well, which is also not a good move. You got enough heel female. I thought the heel face dynamic in AEW's women's division was actually kind of balanced perfectly. But then you moved Brandy over, and it's like, okay, one is okay. But then you're moving Britt Baker as well, and it's like, no. She is just, especially with the doctor gimmick, the dentist thing, natural babyface. Don't turn her heel, please. But all of the interference in this match really turned what was a good match at first into a crap match. And I get kind of why they did it. It furthers the story of Chris Statlander with the Nightmare Collective. And at the same time, Chris Statlander can lose. And you can always have in the back of your mind, well, she really didn't lose clean. Would Riho really have beat her if there wasn't an interference? You can think that. And so it's just like, Statlander still kind of came out of this okay. But I don't see in a big, if this wasn't a title match, okay, whatever. But why do this in your title match? Why make the title match? Why make the title seem significant to this storyline between Brandy and Chris Statlander? Because that's how it came off. That the title being on the line was insignificant. That's the word. Insignificant to this storyline. I mean, does anybody else agree? The storyline seemed like it was the focal point other than the title being on the line. That's just my opinion, though. We then got Sammy Guevara versus Christopher Daniels. They didn't get a lot of time here, and it seemed a little rushed, which is weird because the main event segment seemed like they were stalling and stalling and stalling. So Guevara hit a Samoan drop and then missed a 450 early. Daniels hit an exploder. They traded chops. Daniels hit a drop kick and a clothesline, and then a sit-out powerbomb for a 2. Daniels called for the Angel's Wings, then Guevara blocked it, hitting a running knee, and then used a standing shooting star for a 2 count. Daniels blocked a backslide, or used a backslide for a 2, and then they hit simultaneous lariats. Daniels hit a STO. He teased the BME. Pentagon then interrupted from the stage with a promo, daring Daniels to show him what he's got. Guevara hit a kick to the back of the head and pinned Daniels. Again, interference in 2 matches in a row. Not a good look. Another angle that kind of just messed with things. After the match, Evil Uno and Dark Order came down to the ring after the match, and they tried to recruit Christopher Daniels. He turned him down. Dark Order started attacking Daniels. SCU and the Young Bucks came down and made the save. Again, if you're going to do something like this directly after a match that just had a bunch of interference, spread it out. Do it in the second hour. I wouldn't have that big of a deal with it, but I don't want to see 2 matches that were basically ended because of interference where you're like, hey, the other person could have won if there wasn't interference. Yeah, Kristen's got a point there. Allie was also a natural babyface. Now she's a heel. Again, like I said, moving 1 or 2 over is okay. But when you start moving a bunch of women over to either the heel or the babyface side, that's where you get a little convoluted on one end. Kristen, it's not only that they need to have better booking for the women, they need a better women's roster. I get they got a lot of women with potential, but when you're working maybe 3 matches a month at best, maybe 4, you're not gonna get better at the rate that you need to get better working on national television. At least with WWE, you're working the house shows. At least with NXT, you're at the Performance Center 5-6 days a week and working house shows. So you're getting the reps in. In AEW, someone like a Britt Baker, she shows up on a Wednesday, and that's it. She may work a match on Dynamite. She may work a match on Dark. And typically you don't work both. And as I've harped, they need to work with some indie promotion or some training school to get their younger talent more reps. I know you say, well, there's a number of their talent that work indies already. True. I mean, we see Sammy Guevara sometimes working indies. We see Darby Allin sometimes working indies. We see Joey Janela sometimes working indies. But it's very far and few from that roster. A lot of them, when they signed with AEW, cut out working indies. And are just AEW exclusive. So I think AEW needs a partner promotion, whether that's a Beyond Wrestling, whether that's a Hog Wrestling, whether that's Bar Wrestling, somewhere where they can send a couple guys a week to just have an extra match or 2. It's not going to hurt anything. So next up, we had Cody and Dustin taking on the Lucha Bros. And this is, for me, when the show really started to step it up. I thought this match was really fun. Cody and Pentagon started off. Penta did his trademark taunt. Cody hit a double drop and a right hand. Or drop down right hand, I mean. The old Goldust spot. Dustin and Phoenix got tagged in and did a couple of spots together. Looked really good. Dustin blocked a pop-up cutter. All 4 climbed in and faced off. Lucha Bros cut Dustin off with a suicide dive. After a break, Phoenix worked over Dustin. Dustin sold his left knee. Pentagon tagged in and attacked the left leg. After another break, Phoenix grabbed a chair and jumped on the apron. Arn kicked the chair away, though. Dustin hit a spine buster and got a hot tag to Cody. Cody hit a tope to Pentagon on the ramp. 10 punches in the corner on Phoenix, then tossed his weight belt into the crowd. Somebody got a hell of a souvenir tonight, and they didn't even have to pay for it. A ring-worn Cody Rhodes weight belt. He did this last week, too. So I guess this is Cody's new gimmick. He's going to wear a ring belt to the ring, and then halfway through the match, just take it off, tease like he's going to use it, and say, I'm not a bad guy. I'm not going to use it, and then throw it into the crowd. Cool souvenir for whoever got it. Hopefully they tried to stick around and get Cody to sign it afterwards, because that's what I would do. Where were we? Dustin got tagged in and hit a power slam on Pentagon. Then a Canadian Destroyer on Phoenix. Cody hit a Cody Crusher on Pentagon. Dustin then hit the final Reckoning on Phoenix for the victory. Again, I thought this was a really fun match, and this is when I started to get involved in and into the show. So after the match, Tony Schiavone came down to interview Cody about his thoughts on MJF's stipulations. And Arn interrupts and goes, who does MJF think he is calling the shots? We're going to talk about it this weekend, and we'll have an answer for you next week. And I'm like, Arn, do you not watch the show? Cody said, MJF, I will give you anything you want to have this match, you name it. Well, MJF named it, and then Arn said, we're going to have to talk it over. So you didn't talk it over last weekend? You had a whole week, buddy. What happened? It's not like Cody went to Japan. Cody just went to New York and watched Harry Potter and the Cursed Child for 2 days. So Alex Marvez interviewed Lanny Poffo, put over the Memphis Wrestling segment that we will see next week on AEW Dynamite, and put over All Elite Wrestling as a whole. Lanny Poffo saying that this is the next generation of wrestling, and he loves what they're doing here and would love to work with them, basically. Basically said he wants a job. That's how it came off to me. Lanny Poffo wants a job. So, literally, right after Cody does not give MJF an answer, MJF comes down to the ring. Comes out with Wardlow. He said, Cody, I want an answer. I'm going to give you 10 seconds. I'm going to give you to the count of 10. My thought was, so MJF didn't watch that last segment. Because Arn said they'd have an answer for him next week. So he does his count. Cody doesn't come out. He goes, Cody, I knew you were a little bitch. And Cody doesn't come out, but DDP comes out. So DDP comes out, puts over DDPY, AEW, his Twitter account, his Instagram. And he called MJF a motor mouth jackoff. And while DDP is going off on MJF, MJF is on his phone in the middle of the ring. And he sent out a tweet. I got the tweet right here. It's kind of funny, actually. He sent out a tweet that said, where'd it go? I know I've got the tweet right here. Give me 2 seconds to pull it up. MJF said in his tweet, will this old fart ever shut up? And then the AEW on TNT account quote tweeted him saying something like, this guy's tweeting from inside the ring. Or something like, he shouldn't be doing that. So MJF finally interrupts and says, are you done with your shtick? DDP said that if you would have told me 19 years ago that he'd be back in the ring live on TNT, you'd have to be smoking crack. DDP said fans have been asking him a lot recently, when you coming back? When are we getting one more match? MJF then said, oh, you're not going to fight me, but these guys may want to fight you. And out came the Butcher, the Blade, and the Bunny. They jumped in the ring, and they tried to jump DDP. DDP then hit diamond cutters on both the Butcher and the Blade. MJF kicked him for a low blow and then taunted Cody. He said, I just laid out your mentor. And then who would come to make the save for Diamond Dallas Page? None other than referee Aubrey Edwards, QT Marshall, and Dustin Rhodes. Okay. So fast forward a little bit, we did learn that next week on Dynamite, it will be MJF, the Butcher, and the Blade in a 6-man tag against none other than Diamond Dallas Page, QT Marshall, and Dustin Rhodes. And I'm going to look something up really fast. When was DDP's last match? I'm going to tell you guys right now. Hold on. Let me see if I can find this. Diamond Dallas Page, list of matches. When did DDP have a match last? It's got to be a long time ago. I mean, I don't remember the last time ever seeing DDP in a match. Let's see. DDP's last match came really WrestleMania 32, he was in the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. Before that, he was in the 2015 Royal Rumble. He has not worked a single match since. So, that was 2016. And those are two battle royals where you ain't got to do much. Before those two matches, DDP hasn't had a real match since 2011 when he teamed with Kevin Nash to take on the Rock and Roll Express in a match that ended in a no contest. And then before that, DDP has not worked regularly since 2005. In 2006, he had two matches. He had a tag match in 2010, a tag match in 2011, worked the Rumble in 2015, and worked a Battle Royal in 2016. I get it that Diamond Dallas Page is in great shape, but how's he going to look in the ring having not worked in a very, very long time? Very interesting. So going forward, we had a six-man tag team match. It was Jungle Express against the Best Friends and Orange Cassidy. Jungle Boy Jack Perry, as JR calls him, started it off with Chuck Taylor. Jungle Boy hit a nice springboard arm drag early. Trent and Marco Stunt then tagged in. Stunt psyched himself up. He used a cradle for a 2, then tagged right out. Jungle Boy and Stunt hit a ripcord elbow leg drop combo for a near fall on Trent. After a commercial break, Chuck Taylor used a Falcon Arrow on Jungle Boy for a 2. Jungle Boy hit a clothesline and tagged in Luchasaurus. Luchasaurus ran wild with kicks. Orange Cassidy then tagged in and hit his kicks. Luchasaurus went for a chokeslam. Orange Cassidy turned it into a cutter. The match here then breaks down. Trent hit a spear on Jungle Boy. Cassidy hit a top rope elbow. Stunt hit a double stomp, a DDT, and then hit Trent with a destroyer. Luchasaurus then threw Stunt onto Cassidy and Trent. Taylor went for a powerbomb, but Jungle Boy turned it into a victory roll and a pin, picking up the victory. This is the very first time Jungle Boy has actually picked up a win in AEW. This is the first win for Jungle Boy. I thought the match itself was loads of fun. We learned of a couple matches for next week. Pac versus Darby Allin. Chris Statlander and Hikaru Shida against Awesome Kong and Melanie Cruz. And then the six-man I told you about, Butcher Blade and MJF against DDP, Dustin, and QT Marshall. Also in 2 weeks, Chris Jericho, Santana, and Ortiz will be taking on the Jungle Express. Then we move on to the main event segment with 10-15 minutes left in the show. So, no Santana and Ortiz. It's okay. Kristen. I didn't see, maybe I just wasn't looking hard enough. I didn't see any smack talking of Marco on Twitter tonight. I mean, there have been in the past, but I didn't see anything tonight. I'll look again. But, I mean, if you want to go listen to Marco's interview with Jericho and talk as Jericho. That'll really open your eyes a little bit. I'm just saying. So, Inner Circle comes down to the ring. No Santana and Ortiz. It's just Guevara, Jericho, and Hager. As they're coming down to the ring, Moxley's also coming through the crowd. Jericho said it's an important day in Memphis, not because it's Elvis's birthday. He said Elvis was a jackass. The Beatles are better. And if Elvis were here, he'd kick his ass. Jericho said the GT is gassed up. The party is ready. They're just waiting for Mox to accept. So Moxley said no one knows his motivations. Moxley said he can't be bought. He didn't come to AEW for the money. He came to dominate. And that's why his answer, and he unzips his jacket and says, is yes. And he reveals a Moxley Inner Circle collab shirt. They're all actually wearing these shirts. He said, what better way to dominate than join the most dominant force in the company? He said the best, he's going to learn from the best because Jericho's the GOAT, the greatest of all time. He said they'll dominate AEW for years to come. He then said the only thing left is to pop open a little bit of the bubbly. Jericho said, play me some music, and they celebrated, spraying champagne. So, this is going on, and there's still about 8 minutes left in the show. And they drag this out. They're playing around. Moxley says, you forgot something. And Jericho goes, oh yeah, your keys. He pulls out, gives him the keys. These are the keys to a $750,000 GT. He said, this car is worth more than all of you in this building make combined. The crowd chanted that Moxley sold out. Moxley said he bought a 2015 Dodge Ram with cash, and he planned to drive it until the wheels fell off. But now, he's going to ride in style. So, he said, you forgot one last thing. He told Jericho. So Guevara and Hager get out of the ring at this point. And he goes, I'm just kidding with you. I'd never joined the Inner Circle. Inner Circle was a stupid group. And he has nothing that he wants. Except, and he hits Jericho with a bottle. He says, your title. He hits him with a bottle of bubbly over the head. Jericho falls to the mat, hits him with the paradigm shift, and Guevara got a paradigm shift as well. Hager jumped in, and Moxley retreated through the crowd as the show went off the air. I felt there was a little too much stalling. A 5-minute segment went about 12. I didn't think you needed almost 4 or 5 minutes of them playing with the champagne bottles, yelling at a fan at ringside. Hey, give me my car keys, all that stuff. I just didn't think all that filler at the end was needed. Could have really gave that maybe to that Sammy Guevara match. Gave those extra 2-3 minutes instead of having. I'm just nitpicking here now. Because to me, it was completely obvious where this was going. Like, everyone knew he wasn't going to join. And then when he said yes, you go, oh, Jericho going to get it right when the show goes off the air. And I looked at my clock and I'm like, there's still like 6 minutes left. What are they going to do? We all know that Moxley's not really joining them. And of course, at the end, he says, I'm kidding, I'm not. So I felt like they dragged that segment out a little too long because it was too predictable what was going to happen. Overall, I would give the show maybe a 6.5. Because the first hour was kind of meh. Second hour really kicked it up. And then the final segment, it was good for what it was, but it should have been a little bit shorter. Maybe cut about 3-4 minutes off of it. We do have a text message here we do want to read. If it'll load, this person says, really thought they were going to do a similar storyline when Orton destroyed the Wyatt family from the inside. I think that would have been more interesting than a swerve. I get what you're saying. But they don't want to. Nah, I just don't think that would have worked really, to be honest. I just don't. Because everybody knows that Moxley, like when Orton joined the Wyatt family, it was like, whoa, that's cool. We actually thought, Orton was a member of the Wyatt family. And they played it out over a number of weeks, months. And it actually worked. But this one, it's like, no one would have ever believed that Moxley was going to play nice with Jericho and his group. No. I mean, I guess you could say it could have been a nice way to stretch this out to the pay-per-view in a month and a half. But at the same time, it's like, he can still destroy the group if he really wants to. I mean, next week he can have a match with Sammy Guevara. Following match, he can take on Ortiz. Following week, he can take on Santana. I don't know when Hager's going to have a match, but it was a good show overall. Like I said, I'd give it a 6.5, 6.5. But with that, I do want to say thank you guys for joining me here live to talk about AEW Dynamite. Thank you guys who watch later right here on YouTube. And thank you everybody who listens on podcast services all around the world. I need some feedback from you guys first off, though. Do you like me being on screen opposed to just the graphic? Because to me, I think it's kind of the same, but I know some have asked for it. So I don't know if maybe you guys just like it more seeing me on the screen opposed to just the logo of whatever show I'm reviewing. So I'll go forward with doing this, but I want your feedback on maybe what you like, what you don't like, as far as me being on screen or not being on screen. And as far as maybe some other elements I can add during the reviews and podcast. So with that, I want to say thank you guys for joining me here live. I want to say thanks to Nick for randomly jumping in at the end of the stream, jumping into the live chat, that is. And with that, we won't be doing a live NXT review, but we will be doing an NXT review this week. I may put it up tonight. I may get it up in the morning. Not 100% sure. But with that, I want to say thank you guys. Have a good night. We will be back live following a SmackDown. We'll see you then.